SITFOR Go Live. Não entras aqui não, tá? Trata um bocadinho, não entras aqui. Vais imprimir?
Então, Manuel, boa noite a todos. Bem-vindos à nossa primeira apresentação online do nosso grupo SAP Inside Tracking. Hoje nós temos aqui um dos nossos fundadores, parceiros aqui na equipe que direciona e organiza o SAP Inside Track Fortaleza, Manuel Robalinho. Manuel, bem-vindo, grato aí pela sua palestra que você vai exibir hoje para a gente e a palavra está franqueada a você, meu amigo. Boa apresentação.
Obrigado, Joelson. Boa noite a todos. Mais um ano, é um prazer estar aqui com vocês de novo. A minha palestra normalmente abre, porque também eu sou eu que organizo a lista, coloco a minha em cima até para me certificar que está tudo a funcionar. Eu vou fazer a minha palestra em inglês. So, good evening for everyone. I will present in English my lecture. It is the first lecture of in this year to SAP Inside Track Fortaleza event. We are talking about that. We have the fifth year that we have this event with online lectures and on-site lectures in the last Saturday of the October. So let's go to our presentation. I will share now. I suppose I shared my presentation. Okay, the theme of my presentation, it's about financial things that we need to pay attention during one implementation or a conversion to S/4HANA. My name is Manuel Robalinho, like my friend said, Joelson, and nowadays I'm living in Fortaleza, Brazil. I am a SAP Finance certified consultant from last 24 years. I have a PMP certification too, and I have a master degree in software engineering. I am one of the guys that organize this event, SAP Inside Track Fortaleza, and I was involved in the organization to SAP Inside Track Portal last month. It was amazing. Close my window. So let's go. What we are talking about the innovations in finance in the S/4HANA platform that offer us information about some innovation that the product has, and we need to take advantage of these innovations if we are in greenfield or brownfield implementation. So the idea is to pass in some functionalities that S/4HANA give us and talk about how we proceed in ECC and what we can use or the strategies that we can have in S/4HANA implementation. The first one that I need to talk, it's about planning costs. I put a change here and the SAP note that we need to pay attention. In almost every slides, I have a recommendation if it is a change, a challenge, or a new functionality, and most of times I put the SAP note that I pick during my implementations that talk about this question. What's happening about planning costs is that we have new apps in S4 HANA to planning costs, and we don't have anymore the older transactions. The older transactions are hiding the SAP menu, so we cannot use them anymore. It's not only the transactions that changed, the SAP changed to the tables that are used to planning. So it's interesting because so many times some colleagues tell me that we can use the SAP note and hide the transactions in S4HANA, and we can continue to using the older transactions to plan in S4HANA. I suppose that it is a big mistake because the transactions don't put the same information in the same tables. So if you open the tables and the transactions to continue using the functionalities, after them, when you go to the apps in Fiori area, you don't see any information there. So the key user probably can ask you why I cannot see here the information in the planning column, and I put them in the older transaction. SAP don't reply the information that you put in the older transaction in the new transaction, and vice versa. Almost the planning costs, the SAP give us the opportunity to put in SAP Analytics Cloud. So we have here in the left side the older transactions that we use to planning, KP04, KP06, planning orders, planning projects, and the functionalities that are linked with this planning, like some reportings, copy of versions, the reevaluation plan, transfer plan, all the transactions that are in the planning menu in the older system, ECC, are not used anymore in the new system, S4HANA. The tables, the older tables that are COSP and COSCS tables for planning values in S4HANA are empty, are not used. The new table is the AC.P. The scope item to plan in S4HANA is the BEX, and SAP give us a powerful tool, SAP Analytics Clouds, that you can plan there all you want, and after then you can share this information with S4HANA. Here we have some questions. All the functionalities to plan are moved to SAC. ERP don't have assessment and distribution for plan in S4HANA, and we don't have automatic activity price calculation in S4HANA. So it's some of the challenges that we have when we implement S4HANA, and we need to use plan values because we have production or because we have OPEX in the company, and we need to discuss how we will do that. Probably we need to inform the customer that we will do that with SAP Analytics Cloud. The new apps, some of them are here. The apps choose some of these questions, and then I have here too the SAP notes that we can that talk about that in the bottom, and relevant scopy items to this question is the accounting and financial close, the financial plan upload file, overhead cost accounting, and universal allocation. More in short, the system will not posting transactions that exceed. We have now I'm talking about the one new functionality that we have in S4 HANA. In S4 HANA, like we have in ECC in internal orders, we can test the budget for cost centers and consider the availability of the cost center to have the documents in the cost center or not. We can configure the message to be an error or an warning. If we don't have budget, we can give an error and don't allow more postings in the cost center. We don't require any specialized change in the account master data. Only we need to configure in the Fiori app. We cannot go by the older transaction KS02 because we don't have the elements there. So when we go by the Fiori app to maintain the cost centers, we can have like the image that I have here in red. We have a button to configure the profile to the availability of the budget and put on or off for each cost center. So I have here that all the transaction to manage cost centers in GUI, like KS 02 and 03 does not support the change for budget oriented. We need to consider too the scopy item 2I3 for to have commitment management in the cost centers for the availability budget. Of course, if we don't have commitment management in the cost center, they are not considered for the budget. So we need to configure that to have all of the things okay. I have here in the bottom too some reference document here. Sometimes in that case it's a very wonderful blog in SAP that talk about these questions. What are the costing analysis that we have in S4 HANA? For planning options in financial planning, we can have planning in the cost center planning, in the new tables, of course. For product cost planning, it's almost the same functionality that we had in the past. Sales and profitability planning, project planning, internal audit planning, and financial statement planning. Many features have changed, like budget and planning. We have some of the functionalities, but they work in a different way than in a ECC. And some of them are not the same table. So it's not sometimes only to convert to the new one. If we have some developments, we need to look where the development is picking the information. Some reports are not compatible. I told you that so many reports in the for planning in the ECC are not compliant because the columns are not values. There are new reports in Fiori, and the new reports in Fiori don't pick the information in the older tables, and the tables that have been restructured, like I said. Here we have some changes. The process seems like in ECC, but in S4HANA they clean a bit this type of allocations in S4HANA. The allocation, the SAP talk about simplification. And they try to put the functionality, more usability with a better process, more flexibility, and they give some insights to configure the allocation. It's fully integrated with the Universal Journal. It's one of the questions because they have changed this process because almost of them pick the information in AC.P and in the Universal Journal and not anymore in the older tables. In ECC, we have currently have 24 allocation transactions for all the areas, GL, cost center accounting, profit center accounting, COPA, joint venture, etc. And the simplification, we have the same process. We don't lose any type of functionality, and the transaction was reduced to 6. 1 to manage allocation, run allocation, allocation results, allocation flow, manage the cycle groups and the allocation tags like we have in the past. So we don't lose any functionality, but it was simplified the process to create allocations. I have here a reference with a good material about this question that I pick in about Paul Ovigel in a presentation that he gave last year in ERP Core. About margin analysis, that it was the older COPA, they have changed. So many changes are in this aspect. Margin analysis is more powerful analytical than the profitability analysis in the older versions of SAP. AC.DOCA contains all margins dimensions for reporting. So that's because AC.DOCA, it's a big table with so many columns, and have all the columns that we need to have a good report. Incoming sales order gross margin can be analyzed by predictive accounting, that it is a new and powerful tool. Many period and allocation process can be replaced with continuous accounting via attributing a profitable segment. In the S4HANA, we have 2 types of margin analysis, like we have in the older system that we name it like COPA. In COPA, we have account-based optional and cost-based optional. Here we have margin analysis by default, and cost-based is optional. Almost of times in ECC, the people configure the cost-based. Default in S4HANA, the SAP give us pre-configured the margin analysis activated by default. And because they have the splitting of the COGS, I suppose it is the better solution have the margin analysis active by default. Some reference here is to the presentation given by Marjorie Wright about margin analysis in the 2022 conference ERP Corp. In Bank Master Data, we have some changes. So we need to pay attention because almost of the master data we need to use the Fiori apps to create the hierarchies of banks. So some of the things is not only I have the SPRO and I go there to configure like I did in the ECC. We need to use the new apps to configure the banks. I have here some of the principal apps. One of them, it's about approvals. We have BCM nowadays in the S4 HANA that can approve the creation of the file to the bank, like a workflow that you approve or not, and it was hide or not the creation of the archive to send to the bank. About the bank files, we have almost of the times when we use the ECC and the localization, especially in Brazil, where I am, we have the classic programs that create the bank files to some types of banks that we have here, like the format Febraban and the format Bradesco. Some specific banks that we have here, and almost of the banks use these 2 or 3 types of files. In the ECC, the last versions of ECC, the SAP give us a powerful tool, the PMW, to create the files. So you don't need anymore to use the classic programs. And SAP give us a powerful tool that creates in XML a structure of your file, and you can only use this model to modify some text and create your file, and you don't need the ABAP or any development to create the files. For the new S4HANA, SAP give us almost of the PMW files that we need for Brazil localization. And I talk here again about bank communication management to approve bank files, that it is a powerful where you can by type of payment program, the IDs, you can configure the IDs of the payment program and link in them some workflows to approve, and if it was approved, the system unlock the option to create the file bank. We continue to use almost of the configuration in FBZP. And like I told, we need to use some apps to create the hierarchies of banks, so we need to use the Fiori apps. I have here a link to the country formats here. In this link, go to the help from SAP, and we can verify there if for each country, if we have available formats of PMW created for your country. This is new. It is very interesting because we verify each year, each month, that almost of the bank files, it's older technology. Almost of the times I remember when I start in SAP and the informatics too, we have 20 years ago, 24 years ago, we create files to send to the bank, etc. We pick the file, we put in an email and send to the bank. So the technology nowadays goes to use the APIs, and almost of the banks have APIs to proceed with this type of the exchange between companies and the banks. So it's not a very new notice that almost of the banks and the people are investing to create this type of APIs. And I suppose in a few years, I suppose 2 or 3 years, almost of the technology will be connected via API. In Brazil, what we have about this? Almost of the banks, I have here the banks that have the APIs to payment, to billing, customer billing, and bank statement. Banco do Brasil, Banco Santander, Itaú, Bradesco, Banco BTG, Banco ABC, Citibank, Banco Safra e Caixa Econômica Federal have APIs that can be used to exchange all of this information. In Brazil, it's very interesting to use the APIs because so many companies have to to convert the files, to pick the files and send to another company to translate the file. So if you have APIs, you don't need to use the VAN to convert the files. You ask the API in real time, and you can have your position in bank account and treasury with the information minute by minute. One of the company that have this product, it is an add-on, is Make Value. I work to Make Value. And the company Make Value created all these, created the add-on to use all the APIs to send the payment program, I've sent it as during the payment program, to send by API, to pick the information about customer billing via API, and to have the information about bank statement via API and consider the accounting of this process. After them, if you want, you can look here. I have the link here to the solutions that are given by this company to use the newest form to communicate with banks using APIs. In asset management, we have big changes. It is one of the, for me, one of the most challenge that we have when we implement or convert asset management, because SAP put us some modifications in configuration using the accounting principle to have a ledger group. It's interesting because when we have this type of solution, all of the areas that you have, the valuation areas that you have in asset management, you can account them immediately when you put a document. But some of them you need to put in each valuation area in each ledger. So we need to have a compromise. We need to discuss that with the customer, or so many times we need to verify if we have some problems when we will convert the older version to the new version, because the parallel areas can be studied to have a specific conversion or upload the information to another ledger. Another big challenge is the accounting of this information, because in the past we could transport all the master data to the system, have a report of them, and manually we can accounting the values of asset management in the respective accounts. Nowadays, when you put the information in asset management, the system automatically account the information that you are putting them. So you need to validate very well what you are charging in the system, to don't be surprised with some errors during the upload of the new information, and after that you cannot revert. Only if you clean all the company again, and so many times we have other groups using the same company that you could not clean again to repeat because you have an error. So one solution that I have here is to have a specific load test client for HANA, and test the load until is no error in master data or accounting. So it's a big challenge. I suppose that every time when we implement asset management in S4HANA, or when we convert an ECC to an S4HANA, and consultant to AHA is needed to all the project. About credit management, we have some changes. I suppose it is beautiful changes. I like it so much, the transaction S case, that it is we have this transaction in the ECC2. It's a credit limit request, and we have an app with them in the S4HANA. I have here a print of this screen. I like it so much because it is something that we suppose that we need to explain why we need, why we request a credit limit. We need to argue the questions to explain why, etc. And this request is a beautiful app to ask them, and we can approve this request, and if we approve this request, we put the request limit in the business partner in the field that we have already to that. But it is a powerful and a beautiful app that we gained in the S4HANA. Here we have a challenge. I suppose that everyone knows that in S4HANA, all the customer, banks, and vendors are synchronized in the same table. So we have only one number for everyone. And the question is to verify when we have a conversion, who can pick the number to the business partner, if it is the customer or if it is the vendor. Each one, if you select, for example, I suppose that the number continues the customer and the vendor adapt to the rest of the numbers, we need to convert all the numbers of the vendors in the open items, in the accounts payable, in the request of to buy, so we need to verify carefully what are the changes that we have, because we need to convert the historic of the information. We have a cockpit to do that. I put here the cockpit, and we have some documentation given by SAP. We have here the links to verify that. After them, this presentation will be in PDF, and we can share with you to use if you want. Financial statement version, we have a challenge. This challenge I put here because it's the challenge, it's in Brazil. It's interesting because almost of the structures SAP put in the same app. So we have manage global hierarchies that substitute the older OB58 that manage the financial statement versions. What are the challenges here? In Brazil, we have so many add-ons created by legal reporting for other companies that use the older financial state versions to create the balance sheet. And they did not adapt their software to use the new hierarchies. Most of the times when we go to the project, we create the new hierarchies in the new app, of course, and after them we have the other guys from the other modules, the other add-ons that ask us that need the same hierarchies created in the older transactions, only because they need to have a model to their statement versions, and they didn't adapt the software. So most of the times we repeat the financial statement structures between the new global hierarchy and the older versions created in OB58. Here we have some apps to create the hierarchies, only to document. About material ledger, we have some changes. The material ledger is the basis of the actual costing. In the older versions in ECC, you could not implement material ledger. Nowadays, it's obligatory. So he is active for every implementation. We can execute the actual costing, but is not mandatory. But it is mandatory activate the material ledger. I have here some SAP notes that can be read to this topic. And like you see here, the transactions to activate the material ledger are changed. Are not the same. The startup, the CCS startup, etc. We need to use the newest transactions in material ledger. What we have, so we continue with same functionalities, with the actual costing, with the component split, and we can do mass change in price determination using the older transaction and app CKMM. The product cost flow includes a standard cost estimated, like we had in the older process. Work in process continue like we have in the past, Variance and settlement process in different manufacturing scenarios continue too. The evaluation of the materials and the manufacturing cycles continue. The MELCCS is obsolete, and this is substituted by another one that it is the FCM L4H, like I put here in the top of the presentation. So we changed almost the transactions that we use, and it is obligatory use the material ledger in the implementation. Another good information, the group reporting. The group reporting do the consolidation of the information, finance information, and we have a ledger table, AC docu, that it is a table that stores all the consolidation data for group reporting. Since all data is stored in AC doca, that it is a real time, the other one, AC doc U, stores the data for consolidation. It is online, this information, so when you active this, the system put the information in the two tables, and you can use the older information like we have in the ECC, company partner in BP, company partner in company code to configure the companies that are in the consolidation process, the account group in chart of accounts, movement types in the documents. So almost of the information that we remember that we have in ECC and the older model in ECCS for consolidation, we continue with same master data, but we have new apps to do the consolidation that it is named by this group reporting. Some reference of my presentation. I pick here some questions like the first link about the different politics to APIs, about all the Fiori apps that we can consult, we can view in the Fiori app, in the help SAP. Some solutions about make value that use the APIs to the payment process. The information about the conference that I pick information, some blogs that we need, and some information about the innovation in the payment system in Brazil that refers that we are going to use the instantaneous payments, the APIs to payment and bank statement. So if you need to develop something like that, try to use the APIs and not anymore the older bank files that are created in the past. And that's all. Thank you very much. I will share the PDF with this presentation tomorrow. And if you have some questions, I don't know if we have some questions, Joelson.
Well, Robalinho, thank you for your presentation. We have one question. It's my question. Is there a deadline to continue using classic payments programs for
nowadays, SAP changed the format, so we don't use anymore. You don't need to use anymore the older reports and you go in the payment form, you can configure that you don't use the older report, you use the PMW. I suppose that they put the PMW format. And SAP, when you put them, you can find the file that was created by SAP. One of them start por BR Febraban. BR Febraban. I suppose that you don't need any change. Of course, when we go to some aspects like concessionary payments, etc., sometimes we need to include some appointments there. But the good question is that people like you and me, that we don't have specific capabilities to develop, we can only configuring, design a new file, like sometimes like you do in Excel, for example. You can create a formula and put the value that you want in this type of process. So it is very, very interesting.
Ok, thank you, Manuel. Então, pessoal, essa foi a nossa primeira apresentação online do nosso 5º ano do SAP SideTrack. Manuel, quero agradecer aqui em nome da organização do evento, da qual você também é membro, participante aí, por esse momento aí rico de compartilhamento com a gente aí do seu conhecimento também. E amanhã a gente dá continuidade às apresentações e o nosso evento on-site... Oi, pode falar.
Uma coisa que eu ia comentar, vou continuar agora em português, realmente é prazeroso ver, porque nós sempre temos feito o evento online para dar oportunidade a qualquer pessoa de qualquer parte do mundo, mostra os seus conhecimentos, os seus cases. Este ano tivemos quase um número recorde, vão ser 2 semanas completas de palestras online de várias partes do mundo. O que nos satisfaz bastante, porque o evento físico é interessante, mas a oportunidade que se dá às pessoas que não têm mesmo assim possibilidade de vir ao evento físico, acho que é de continuar de louvar, e fica aqui o impulso para que da próxima vez vocês também se candidatem, quem está a ouvir, e venham aqui fazer a vossa apresentação. Obrigado a todos.
Verdade. Então, muito obrigado a todos e até amanhã.
Até amanhã.